In 2012, scientists conducted a study and got a result that changed everything. One natural substance lowered blood pressure just as effectively as a popular prescription drug. Without side effects, without a prescription. It costs almost nothing and is sitting in your kitchen right now. Today, I'm going to tell you about 8 such remedies. Each one has a 1,000-year history and real scientific evidence behind it. Some of the facts will surprise you so much you will not believe them. But all of this is true. Stay until the end. The last remedy was used by the ancient Druids, and today it is officially sold in German pharmacies as a medicine for high blood pressure. The first remedy is garlic. 3,500 years ago in ancient Egypt, the first documented labor strike in history took place. The workers building the Pyramid of Khufu stopped work. The reason they had stopped receiving their garlic ration. This is recorded in the papyri of that time. The pharaohs understood without garlic, workers got sick, grew weak, and died. Garlic was not food, it was medicine. Hippocrates in the 5th century before our era used it for diseases of the lungs and heart. Soviet military doctors in the Second World War called it Russian penicillin. When antiseptics ran out, garlic juice saved lives right on the battlefield. What does science say today? A meta-analysis published in the Journal of Hypertension showed an average reduction in systolic blood pressure of 8.3 millimeters of mercury with daily garlic consumption. For comparison, some prescription blood pressure drugs produce a reduction of 10 to 12 millimeters. The active substance in garlic, allicin, dilates blood vessels through the synthesis of nitric oxide. This is the same mechanism used by modern vasodilating drugs. But here's what is important to know. Allicin forms only when you crush or cut garlic, breaking the cells, and only in raw form. When heated above 60 degrees Celsius, it is completely destroyed. Cooked and fried garlic does not work for blood pressure. How to take it correctly: crush 1 to 2 cloves with the flat side of a knife. Leave for 10 minutes. This is when the maximum amount of allicin forms. Eat with food so it does not irritate your stomach. Every day. The effect appears after 2 to 4 weeks. Warning: do not combine with anticoagulants, blood-thinning medications. With stomach ulcers, do not eat on an empty stomach. The second remedy is hawthorn, and here is a fact that will surprise you. In 1542, German physician Leonhard Fuchs published a herbal in which he described hawthorn as the most powerful remedy for the heart. This was not folk wisdom. It was an official medical treatise. European doctors treated hypertension with it for 300 years. And today in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, hawthorn preparations are officially registered as medicinal products for the heart and sold in pharmacies. This is not a herb from your grandmother's garden. This is a certified European medicine. Why does hawthorn lower blood pressure? It contains flavonoids and tannins that suppress the production of angiotensin-converting enzyme. This is the same enzyme that is blocked by drugs from the ACE inhibitor group, one of the most prescribed classes of blood pressure medications in the world. Clinical studies showed a reliable reduction in diastolic blood pressure after 10 weeks of regular hawthorn extract intake. How to take it? 2 tablespoons of dried hawthorn berries covered with 250 milliliters of boiling water. Steep for 30 minutes. Strain. Drink half a glass twice a day, 30 minutes before meals. Course is 1 month, then a 2-week break. Add rose hip. Together they work better. Contraindications. Use with caution with very low blood pressure and during pregnancy. The third remedy is beetroot. British scientists got a result they did not expect themselves. In 2010, researchers from Queen Mary University of London published in the journal Hypertension the results of a study that caused a real revolution in cardiology. People with hypertension drank 250 milliliters of beet juice per day. After 2 weeks, systolic blood pressure dropped by an average of 8 millimeters of mercury. The scientists were surprised themselves. The mechanism turned out to be the following. Beetroot contains an enormous amount of nitrates. In the body, they convert to nitric oxide, which dilates the walls of blood vessels and reduces their resistance to blood flow. This is the same mechanism used by some modern heart medications. Only beetroot is food. And here's what is remarkable. In Russian folk herbals of the 18th century, beetroot was already mentioned for headaches and high blood pressure. Our grandparents knew this 250 years before the London study. How to use it? Juice 1 medium beetroot, about 150 milliliters. Mix with the juice of 1 carrot and 1 apple for taste. Drink in the morning on an empty stomach. Start with 50 milliliters and gradually work up to 150. Beet juice is powerful and your body needs time to adjust. Contraindications. Kidney stones with oxalate stones and diarrhea are contraindications. The fourth remedy is cinnamon. This is a spice that works like medicine. In ancient Egypt, cinnamon was so valuable that it was given to pharaohs and used in mummification. As a sign of the greatest respect, Avicenna in the 10th century described cinnamon as a remedy for the heart in his canon of medicine. In medieval Europe, it was worth more than gold. Today, a packet of cinnamon costs almost nothing, and that is exactly why few people take it seriously as medicine. That is a mistake. Cinnamon contains a substance called cinnamaldehyde, which acts as a natural calcium channel blocker. Calcium channel blockers are an entire class of popular blood pressure medications. Studies showed a reduction in systolic blood pressure of 6.2 millimeters and diastolic of 3.9 millimeters with regular cinnamon intake. These are real clinical data. How to use it? Half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon in your morning tea, coffee, or porridge every day. Or mix half a teaspoon of cinnamon with a teaspoon of honey in a glass of warm water and drink in the morning on an empty stomach. Course is 1 to 2 months. Warning: do not exceed 1 teaspoon per day. In large doses, it burdens the liver. Use with caution during pregnancy. The fifth remedy is valerian. Everyone knows it as a sedative, but few people know the main thing. Hippocrates mentioned valerian back in the 5th century before our era. Dioscorides in the 1st century of our era described it for pain and nervous disorders. 2,000 years of history of use. And here is what is important to understand. In 80% of people with hypertension, blood pressure rises specifically against a background of stress and nervous tension. This is called neurogenic hypertension. Valerian acts on the receptors of gamma-aminobutyric acid in the brain, the same receptors responsible for inhibiting the nervous system and reducing anxiety. When the nervous system calms down, vascular spasm is relieved and blood pressure drops. Clinical studies confirmed a reduction in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure in people with stress-induced hypertension with regular valerian intake. How to take it? 1 tablespoon of crushed dry valerian root per 250 milliliters of water. Bring to a boil, simmer for 15 minutes, cool, strain. 2 tablespoons 3 times a day after meals for a course of 1 month, or 30 drops of pharmacy tincture 3 times a day in a small amount of water. Warning: causes drowsiness. Do not take before driving. Use with caution with low blood pressure. The 6th remedy is potassium and magnesium. And here is why this matters more than you think. There are 2 minerals without which blood vessels cannot function normally: potassium and magnesium. Potassium regulates water salt balance and helps remove excess sodium from the body. And it is sodium that retains water and raises blood pressure. This is a medical fact. Magnesium relaxes the smooth muscle of blood vessel walls and relieves their chronic spasm. Magnesium deficiency creates constant tension in the vessels, hence the high blood pressure. A meta-analysis of more than 30 studies showed that increasing potassium intake lowers systolic blood pressure by an average of 3.5 millimeters of mercury. Another meta-analysis showed a reduction from magnesium of 2 millimeters. At first glance, that seems small, but reducing blood pressure by even 2 to 3 millimeters reduces the risk of stroke by 14%. This is a statistically proven fact. The best sources of potassium you can add to your diet right now: dried apricots, prunes, raisins, avocado, jacket potatoes, beans. The best sources of magnesium: pumpkin seeds, almonds, buckwheat, dark chocolate from 70% cacao, spinach. This is not a diet. This is simply food worth eating more often. The 7th remedy is green tea. 5,000 years and 25 clinical studies. According to legend, Chinese Emperor Shen Nong discovered tea around 2,737 years before our era. Leaves from a wild tea bush accidentally fell into his boiling water. In Japanese monasteries, green tea was drunk for mental clarity and heart health for thousands of years. Today, it is one of the most studied plants on the planet in terms of its effect on the cardiovascular system. A meta-analysis of 25 randomized clinical trials, a very serious body of evidence, showed a reduction in systolic blood pressure of 2.6 millimeters of mercury and diastolic of 2.2 millimeters with regular green tea consumption. The catechins in green tea suppress the production of angiotensin, the substance that narrows blood vessels, the same angiotensin that is blocked by ACE inhibitors. How to drink it correctly? 3 to 4 cups per day. Water at 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, not boiling, otherwise the catechins are destroyed. Steeping time 2 to 3 minutes, without sugar. The effect builds up over several weeks of regular consumption. Warning: contains caffeine. With tachycardia, drink only in the first half of the day. With gastritis, not on an empty stomach. And the last remedy, the one that few people in the West know about: white mistletoe. The Celtic Druids considered white mistletoe a sacred plant and called it all-healing. They harvested it with golden sickles at full moon. So highly did they value its power, Hippocrates used mistletoe for joint diseases and epilepsy. In European folk medicine, mistletoe was used for heart disease and high blood pressure from the 16th century onward. And now the most interesting part. In Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, white mistletoe preparations are still officially registered and sold in pharmacies as a supporting remedy for hypertension. This is not folk legend. This is the European pharmacopoeia. Mistletoe contains viscotoxins and lectins, which relax the walls of arteries and reduce heart rate. Several European clinical studies confirmed a moderate reduction in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure with regular intake. How to take it? 1 teaspoon of dry crushed mistletoe leaves and stems per 200 milliliters of cold water. Cold specifically because active substances are destroyed by heat. Steep for 8 hours, preferably overnight. In the morning, strain and drink in 3 portions throughout the day. Course is 3 to 4 weeks, then a break. Most important warning: mistletoe is toxic in overdose. Strictly follow the dosage. Do not give to children. Do not take during pregnancy. Consult a doctor before use. I have told you today about 8 remedies that lower blood pressure, about garlic, because of which 3,500 years ago, Egyptian workers staged the first strike in history, about hawthorn, which is officially sold as medicine in European pharmacies, about beetroot, whose study at the University of London showed a reduction in blood pressure within 2 weeks, about cinnamon, which works as a natural calcium channel blocker, about valerian, which lowers blood pressure through the nervous system, about potassium and magnesium, without which blood vessels cannot function normally, about green tea confirmed in 25 clinical studies, and about white mistletoe, the plant of the Druids that today stands in German pharmacies alongside official medicines. With blood pressure above 160, be sure to see a doctor. But for support and prevention, use what I have shared today. This knowledge has been tested over millennia and confirmed by modern science. Start with at least 1 remedy today, and be sure to watch the next video. There I will tell you about the 1 habit that raises blood pressure more than everything else combined. The link is below this video. And write in the comments which of these remedies you have already tried and what helped you personally. I read every single comment. Until next time.